And though the Disney Renaissance officially began with The Little Mermaid, 1989, it was Beauty and the Beast that fully washed away the Disney taint and set the company down the road to become the world-bestriding colossus it currently is. But even the people who remember how important the movie was have probably forgotten why, which is what this edition of Kim's Weekend Remake Throwdown will take on. It's Beauty and the Beast, 1991 versus Beauty and the Beast, 2017, as we ponder how breaking a barrier can lead you to forget the barrier ever existed in the first place. Both the animated original and the live-action remake have virtually the same story, with the 2017 version changing only one meaningful plot point while extending things for an extra 46 minutes. An unnamed prince in some fantasy version of 17th or 18th century France offends a magical enchantress with his lack of compassion and decency. She transforms him into a shaggy monster, and his servants into anthropomorphic furniture, and tells him that if he cannot find love and inspire love in return before the final petal falls from a mystical rose, the prince will remain a beast forever. Many years later, we meet a young girl in a nearby village. Belle is quite a beauty, but also something of an oddity because she loves to read and dreams of a life beyond the borders of town. With the devotion of her father Maurice, an eccentric inventor, on one hand and the unwanted attentions of Gaston, the local hero who is equal parts valiant and vain and bold and boorish, on the other, Belle seems trapped to never fulfill her dreams. Yes, I can't imagine why the villagers thought the girl who read to sheep was a little weird. Then while traveling to a distant fair, Maurice runs afoul of the beast and is imprisoned. Belle tracks him down and offers to take his place. The beast accepts, and though he and Belle begin their relationship with disdain, they eventually fall in love. But when Belle uses the beast's magic mirror to see her father in trouble back in the village, he lets her go to save him. Even if releasing her costs the beast his last chance at salvation. Belle manages to res her father but lets the rest of the village know that the beast exists, which allows Gaston to rabble-rouse and lead the villagers to kill the misunderstood monster. He seemingly succeeds and Belle arrives only to confess her love over the beast's dead body, but these are Disney movies and they were never going to end in tragedy. Belle's love breaks the curse, restores the prince's humanity, and everybody, except Gaston, lives happily ever after. Why shouldn't he have a swelled head? Did you get a look at Belle's other options? Beauty and the Beast, 1991, was the third biggest box office hit of that year, even making more money than a little motion picture you may have heard of called The Silence of the Lambs. In 2017, and despite an avalanche of big-budget cartoon flicks since, it remains the 13th biggest moneymaker in American animation history. Watching it again for this throwdown brought to mind a question. Why? Not that Beauty and the Beast, 1991, is a bad film. Far from it. It has some amazing songs, but maybe not as many as you remember. There's some good comedy, appealing voice work, and it's an engaging adventure. But the animation is not at all impressive. It's even a little crude in spots. There are only 4 real songs in the whole movie, which is startlingly few for musical. And while it is entertaining, it's hard to look at it with 2017 eyes and comprehend why so many people were so very much in love with it. They did what with me in the remake? But that's because 2017 eyes can't truly see what 1991 was like. Remember that Disney taint I mentioned? It was real, and it came from Disney spending the 1960s, 70s and 80s making movie after movie after movie which still reflected the mindset and attitudes of the 1950s. People liked The Little Mermaid, but it was still an entirely old-fashioned tale of a princess who wanted nothing more out of life than to fall in love and had to wait for her prince to save her. Beauty and the Beast, 1991, broke that mold, and incidentally created another one that Disney has been following ever since, up to and including Frozen, 2013, and Moana, 2016. Belle was a girl who reads and thinks and hopes not for a husband but for her own life. That was earth-shaking stuff for a Disney film. Combining it with a plot that inverted the classic Disney paradigm and made the monster the good guy and the villain out of the guy with all the qualities of a typical hero created an indelible mark on the minds and hearts of fans. Beauty and the Beast, 1991, was a very good animated movie, but people adored it because it made Disney relevant to contemporary American culture for the first time in decades. Again, it's a bit hard to conceive of today, but it used to be that some businesses, like Disney, were seen as more than just profit-making endeavors. They were strands in the fabric of American life, and they meant something or were understood to stand for something significant in what makes us and our country what we are. I'm not sure any company, even Disney, commands that respect and almost reverence now. Maybe Apple? They have made 2 movies about the life of Steve Jobs. Like the original, Beauty and the Beast, 2017, is a very good movie. About the only technical complaints I could have is it may be a bit long for younger viewers, and the G-Beast isn't perfect. Sometimes he doesn't move with the weight of a real living thing, and the Beast's face sometimes has that overly animated thing with G, where every inch of it appears to be moving. It's something done to counteract the lifelessness you can get when G tries to mimic human expression. Go back and look at Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, 2016. The reproduction of Peter Cushing is photographically accurate, but he seems to have had way too much Botox. The 2017 Beast has the opposite problem. But while Beauty and the Beast, 2017, is going to make several bucketloads of money, it will be more from trading on good feeling for the original than any impact it'd make on its own. The narrative and metatextual things which made the 1991 cartoon so striking are too mainstream and even cliché now to get anyone excited. The 2017 live-action version is going to be like the big screen Star Trek reboot in 2009, a fun motion picture that will make far more money than it actually deserves. The most notable thing about Beauty and the Beast, 2017, besides the fact it finally gives the Beast the solo song he should have had in the original, is how the changes it makes to the character of Gaston illustrate the evolution of popular culture. In 1991, the movie threw any subtlety out the window to make sure viewers instantly recognized that while Gaston may occupy the traditional role of a hero, he was actually something else. There's a meanness and a brutish dimension to 1991 Gaston that is immediately apparently. Great unanswered question of the remake: why are the Beast's horns pointing backward instead of forward? 2017 Gaston is quite different. Yes, he's arrogant and egocentric and more than a bit dim-witted, but he also initially seems to be a well-meaning fellow who is legitimately attracted to Belle as the only other exceptional person in the village. He's marvelously performed by Luke Evans, but the change in the character makes Emma Watson's Belle come off as a bit of a snob. 1991 Belle rejects Gaston because he's no good. 2017 Belle rejects Gaston because he's not good enough for her. I can't say why they made the change in Gaston when everything else about the movie so closely follows the original. Maybe they wanted to set the audience up for a latter scene where Gaston takes a much more villainous turn than the original. Maybe they thought making Belle a little full of herself would give her and her relationship with the Beast more depth and complication. But I suspect it's because the hero who is really the villain is now such a normal movie trope that Beauty and the Beast, 2017, doesn't understand how important Gaston is to giving the story its power. So, in this alternate reality France of the 17th/18th century, someone invented electricity? 1991 Gaston is a jerk from the first moment he's on screen, but almost everything he does in the film are the things a hero does in a Disney movie. Even in his most overt act of evil in the story where he conspires to have Belle's father thrown in an asylum to force Belle to marry him, there's an element where Gaston is not merely being a villain, but is doing what he honestly believes is best for both Belle and her father. It is watching this plainly unheroic guy faithfully acting out all the things we would expect a hero to do that forces us to question the very concept of heroism, though in an unconscious way. It is a Disney cartoon musical after all. 2017 Gaston begins as a much less off-putting fellow. If you'd never watched the original, you might think the movie would be about Gaston learning to be a better man. But he then takes a hard turn into pure scheming, conniving villainy. He leaves Belle's father tied up in the woods to be eaten by wolves, for pity's sake. There's nothing heroic at all about 2017 Gaston for the last half of the movie, and it robs the remake of the delicate but subversively profound impact of the original. This is a lot more disturbing in real life. But to be fair, the remake probably couldn't have had the same impact no matter what. Gaston is a strong, white, heterosexual male who is brimming with confidence and loves hunting and fighting. That's practically as much of a bad guy stereotype in 2017, and the Savage Injun was back in the golden age of the Western.